Well, good morning, everyone. It's an honor and privilege to be here, and today we are going to talk about the cloud. Well, not this cloud, though. We are talking about the cloud that all of us are using. My hypothesis is, in the next few years, we are actually going to use the cloud infrastructure more than the clouds that we are seeing in the sky. We have applications that are all having servers that are residing in the cloud, either being AWS, Google Cloud, or other cloud infrastructures. But why are we actually using the cloud? That's the big question. We ask our customers that, why are you moving from your on-prem solutions to the cloud? And they do have a list of requirements. They really don't want to do the maintenance. Their job is to write applications and put the application on the cloud. Their job is to make it quite easy for their customers to access this from anywhere they are. You could be traveling from the United States to China overnight, and you would like to keep your latency very low. How can you do this? You can't move the servers. You would like to have the costs down. You would like to have many different offerings that the cloud provides. But in a specific, what you can look about is increasing operational efficiency. If I'm able to have my developers to access a cloud, such as AWS, and bring a container up in a matter of seconds, then I have saved some time. I have saved some hassle for them to focus on writing that code. For the customers, it's the same scenario. I would like to have my data to reside in a specific region without actually going through the processes that it takes to move the data from one country to the other one. It's very easy to scale. I could log into my AWS account, I could bring a new container up, and it can deploy the application simultaneously. And obviously, there is the capital expenses that you have. The cost of holding your cloud and being able to maintain it is quite high. But how about the scalable security? We are using the cloud for our application. We are creating these applications that are going to last for 10 or 20 years. You can think about a car manufacturer that they have their application to update the car infrastructure remotely, and this needs to last for at least the time that it takes for that car to be operational. So when it comes to scalable security, we need to think about this. Look about your build infrastructure today. You write your code, you develop it, you put this on GitHub, you run Jenkins to do some type of testing, and then you will go through other processes that requires for this. And finally, you containerize it, such as Docker, to deploy this out. And then you realize you actually haven't thought about security. You haven't done any end-to-end security for this, and now you have to recall all that code back. David was mentioning about the supply chain attack that took place a day ago, and this was very relevant to the discussion that we're having today. A supply manufacturer for PCs forgot about signing their codes, and that allowed the attackers to actually go ahead and update these devices remotely because nobody knew about the source. So how can we help? Is there any solution that can help us to secure these codes and servers for the years to come? And not only for the years to come, is there any way for us to do it without any new training? Again, your developers are out there to develop code. Their expertise is not about security. Any of us in this room have a specific expertise, and one of those expertise for us at DigiCert is do a scalable security. When we are talking about a scalable security, is about to build a pipeline that starts from writing the code to deploying it to updating that code from the day one. This end-to-end security provides a pipeline for your customers as well as for your developers to be able to not only connect to the cloud, but connect to the cloud that is secure. And that's one of the most important portion of this. When you're deploying that code, do you trust the cloud infrastructure? Do you trust the code that is going to reside there? And then do you trust the updates that you're going to add there? And that is the goal that we have been looking at DigiCert and a task that we have been assigned to actually solve. So we talked about your application are lasting longer, but we haven't actually talked about the data. How about the data? You deploy the application will have millions, hopefully, of users, and all these users are creating this data that needs to go through your application. If you don't have proper security for those applications, now the data is compromised, and now you have to deal with personal identifying information, or PIIs. You have to deal with GDPR, since we are in Europe, and many other factors that security are evolving around. So you need to have three factors when we are talking about these pipelines to build that has security. One is a valid identity. I receive my Adobe Acrobat Reader, I receive a PDF, and I need to receive an update for that application. How would I trust that the update actually comes from Adobe? How would I trust that that update doesn't come from a hacker residing in some country who tries to utilize something such as remote code execution on my device? So knowing that valid identity is important. But then I need to protect my developers. I need to protect them in a sense that I shouldn't release their information. Therefore, there is a notion of valid identity without releasing specific information about that developer or company, matter of fact. Signing as a service is another portion of that. I briefly discussed about being able to sign your application, but you really shouldn't know about what type of application you're using to sign it, right? It's not your job or expertise to come up with a signing service. That's something else that at DigiCert we have been focused on, which is creating a signing service that is very easy for you to use. Approach such as signing the hash, which is creating a hash of your application, sending a hash to us. We will sign it in a matter of seconds, and we provide the signed hash back to you that you can trust, and you can prove to your customers that this is the valid signature. And finally is a reliable certificate management. We are using certificates for a number of different use cases. One is providing an authentication and identity for your server to the client. So you can think about as your mobile app that you have just developed needs to connect to your application that resides on the cloud, and you need to make sure that the server you are connecting to has the proper identity. Well, today we do that with certificates. We utilize X509 for this. It's quite reliable, and matter of fact, it requires zero learning procedure for you guys to deploy this. So I talked about signing as a service. I talked about certificate management, but what is a platform that runs this? Matter of fact, cloud is what we started the conversation with. So the idea is having a scalable PKI solution that is easy to integrate to any cloud infrastructure in a matter of seconds. And that is important. We talked about your build requirements. We talked about what it takes to have an application. And what needs to be provided is an on-demand solution. The best example of this that I can provide is when you're under a DDoS attack, requires a switch to turn on that anti-DDoS. Where it requires security for your application, you require to have this scalable PKI that is a matter of seconds away to turn it on. So what DigiCert's cloud-ready PKI provides is three specific elements. One is a simple certificate management. In a matter of 60 seconds, I'm able to issue a certificate for an application. I'm able to sign that application cryptographically, and I'm able to issue a certificate for my servers and drop it on that server. So what you have right now is a container that is going to be deployed on a server. The container is signed. The application within that container is signed, as well as the server that is going to run that application by itself is authenticated, as well as having an encryption channel between other servers or clients. Providing a custom certificate profile is another portion of this. So certificates are being widely used. I can guarantee that everybody in this room who has a smartphone at least runs between 10 to 15 different certificates. Not their only application, the operating system on that cell phone or smartphone requires some type of authentication back to its mothership or server, and that by itself provides that method of communication. The simple custom profile here provides you with a specific set of parameters that has been designed for your business. Naming your organization within that certificate that could be shown to your end customer saying that the certificate has been, or the application has been signed by me, by itself, not only shows the power of your brand, but shows how much you're caring about security. And eventually is the immediate certificate issuance. Your developer sits down, writes his code, he's ready to deploy that, and he doesn't really want to wait for a certificate or a security modular to be deployed. He wants to set it out, he wants to deploy it to production, and that's what we are able to provide. Right before building your application, or right after building that application, we can provide you with that signature that could provide the security for the lifetime of that application. So the question will be, if this is such a good solution, and if I'm a developer myself, why wouldn't I be able to actually bring my own PKI up? Well, matter of fact, you can access GitHub, and you can receive codes from a number of different open sources that could give you the PKI. But the answer to that is quite simple. If the hidden cost of this out there, you need to have three visions that when it comes to your cloud-ready PKI. One is, it needs to be agnostic. Imagine that you wrote your own PKI, but you used Amazon AWS, and a month later you decide to move to Google Clouds because of your customer requirement. If you're not cloud agnostic, now you carry the cost of rewriting that PKI application. Whereas what we have done in the past, and in the back end of our lab, we have created and tested this on almost every single cloud provider. We know that it works, we know that it's deployable, and we know that it's ready for you to plug it into your application right now. We are developing for today and tomorrow. I heard about quantum computing. from previous speaker, and that was quite intriguing to me because what we have done at DigiCert is focusing on post-quantum crypto. I mentioned the application is going to last for 10, 20, or 30 years, but if the security is only good for 10 years, then it's not good enough. And that 10 years is a life that is probably going to take for a quantum computer to be available and capable to break encryption. What we have done at DigiCert, we have researched this, and we have created what we call a hybrid certificate that allows you to utilize two algorithms. Algorithms that are ready today and algorithms that are ready tomorrow when quantum computers are available. This requires no infrastructure change, only requires for you to deploy it today in order for that application to be protected in the future. And finally is a personalized solution for a specific use case, and that's actually where we need you guys to help us out. We can cover as many use cases that customers are coming to us, but requiring to see more use cases. Our code and our platform is ready for test in any environment. Just depending on the use case that you have, we are able to modify it and deploy it again. You're in control. That's another portion of this, which is at any time, you're able to choose what application you need to sign and where you're able to deploy it, and that by itself provides that anchor of trust. I see your security solution works, but how would I trust your security solution? Just the fact that it works is not enough for me. So being publicly trusted, and that means being globally trusted on different platforms and being able to prove that is a huge fact that you're able to see that and you're able to try it on your own. So let's talk about the cloud private PKI specifically. This is a solution specifically designed for you. You can think about it that inside a data center, you have your own rack that provides you a specific solution. This by itself will provide a specific training to your developers if they require that. Otherwise, this is just an integration, which is quite simple. The hardware and software and licensing is all taken care of by us. So again, is a service that it can integrate to. The updates to this solution by itself will be happening in the background. There's no need for you to take care about those upgrades. So imagine that there's a zero-day attack happening on one of the libraries that you really use. Well, there's no need for you to be worried about that because we are taking care of that. And another big portion of this that at the beginning of the speech that I included was the availability. If the cloud is available across the world, security going to be available with it as well, and that's what we provide. Is that security around the clock without putting the burden on the developers or you as well. There's other services that are part of this. One is the revocation service. Imagine that your application actually has been compromised and you would like to revoke the certificate for that. So the way that this process is going to work out is you're able to revoke the signature for that application, and that by itself means that application is not trusted. I mentioned the supply chain attack. If there's a specific vendor had access to revocation services, they could have been remotely prevented that application to run on their hardware, and that by itself means there's no spread of that security breach to other sources. And then finally is the management through API. All of us are familiar with APIs. We are using APIs on a daily basis, and if there's an API that allows you to easily integrate, then that will be something that the developers could completely put aside. So let's think about this build solution that we were talking about, right? We don't want to see the facepalm at the end of the day. You spend a couple of cycles to go through the development, but what does it take to actually have a better solution? So the idea will be to integrate with the PKI service that allows a scalability, that allows ease of use, and that allows a security that is built for years to come, not for years to stay. And that by itself speaks volume. So when we are talking about the solutions such as the cloud PKI, there are three important factors that we need to remind ourselves. One is the scalability, and that comes to the scalability the same as the cloud scalability. If I'm able to bring my EC2 container on AWS in a matter of seconds, why wouldn't I be able to bring security up for that EC2 in a matter of seconds as well? And that's something we are able to do. Reliability. I don't need to think about the security when I sleep. It should be the last thing that I think about because we design security in the heart of the applications, and you should too as well. And finally is the compatibility part of this. I mentioned Google Cloud as well as AWS, and that provides for you that agnostic cloud that you could move from one cloud provider to the other one without thinking that, is it compatible? Do I need to change something, or would it be there to stay? So before I wrap this, I would like to talk about authentication or validation, and these two are quite important. So you have a server, you have a client, you do the authentication of this too, meaning that you create that end-to-end communication channel that is encrypted. But encryption by itself is not enough, right? I can pick up the phone and call the telephone number that I see on a sign, but in order for me to know who's on the other side, I need to validate their identity. So this is where we are entering that validation position, which is, if I'm able to validate the identity of the application and the server that I talk to, now I have expanded the security platform that I really require to have there. In summary, I need to mention 3 important parts. One is, applications that you write today are going to last for a very long time. And that means they require to have a security that lasts for a very long time. You're spending enough time, infrastructure, and money on writing the application, going through the use cases, and that doesn't mean you have to forget about security. Security by design starts from the first line of code that the developers are writing. It starts from the first byte of data that customers are generating, and it needs to last for the time that that application is going to be out there. And obviously, the last portion of this is the scalability part. You don't want to be stuck at the moment that you can't scale your application because your security is lacking. We are here at CloudFest. We have a booth. We'll be happy to talk to you about technical portion of the solution that we have. We are able to show you demos, as well as we are able to talk about the API integration that is quite simple and handy. Come meet us, and we'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Avesta, Hojjati, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Avesta. Stay with me. I've got a couple of questions.
Sure.
You talked a lot about multi-universe and bringing all these diverse environments together. Talk about integration. How do you integrate all this stuff?
That's a very good question. So throughout the talk, I try to talk about how easy the integration is. Again, everybody has a specific expertise, right? One could be a developer, one could be a DevOps, but not everybody are security experts. What we are at DigiCert, we are your security experts on call.
Okay.
The integration is as easy as meeting with one of our sales engineers. We are able to integrate to your pipeline, either being Jenkins or any other build application that you have. And in a matter of seconds, you're able to just receive your hash signing without any hassle.
So it's a outsourced collaborative engagement using one of your people through?
It's a service that requires to be integrated. But after the service has been integrated, there is no need for DigiCert to be contacted, right? So again, it's reliable. You use the application anywhere that you want, and it's obviously scalable.
Very good, thank you. So I think we've got a couple of minutes. Who would like to ask a question of Avesta about the DigiCert proposition, how to use it? We have a couple of microphones roving around. The lights are going up. This is good. This is where we put pressure on the audience to ask the question. Avesta, come with me. There is a prize for the first person who asks a question. And it's a significant prize. And that prize is a personal visit to the DeLorean. Now, I can't promise you whether you'll go to the future, and if you do, please come back because we want you for this afternoon. Who would like to ask a question?
I'll be available throughout the day.
We've got a question over here. We have someone who's going to the DeLorean. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Carl, and my question is, a few years ago there was a Dutch PKI institute which was fraudulent, called DigiCert, maybe you remember, and how do you make sure that it doesn't happen again?
Absolutely. So one of the biggest things, so I sleep 3 hours a night, right? It's not because I'm worried about security. It's because I think about others not doing their job right, not at DigiCert. We are extremely focused on our infrastructure. We are extremely focused on our monitoring systems. And when I was mentioning that reliability, that's a portion of that. At DigiCert, we are trying to stay not 1 step ahead, but 10 steps ahead from the attackers and from the mistakes that could be caused by humans. That being said, humans are making mistakes. We are trying to prevent that to the best of our capability when it comes to profiles like that. If you identify an issue, we will take care of it in a matter of seconds, especially because we know security is something very hard to gain, but it's very easy to get rid of. So again, issues such as that is something that DigiCert, knock on wood, has never been faced. and we are trying to prevent anything in the future that could be even close to that.
Carl, thank you for your question. Come and see me later to organize the visit. Another question.
Right there.
Over here. Yes, put your hand right up. Stand up. There. Thank you.
All right. Well, one essential question I think is, if you look at the cloud, as someone could say, is just someone else's computer, so I don't have control of my hardware. Essentially, everybody tells you you should keep your private keys safe. So what will be the future in this? Because that's still a problem not solved right now.
Absolutely. So making security easy is essential to those developers, right? Not everybody needs to know how public and private key are working. Services such as HSM, hardware security modulars, and HSM as a service is something that has been started. DigiCert has invested significant amount of research into identifying what would be the easiest way for you to access these HSMs without even knowing what HSM is. They will tell you that your public and private key is secure, and there are a number of different technologies that has been rising, things such as multi-party computation, which is distributing this private key between different devices. If one of them gets compromised, you still haven't gained anything. You need to access every single one of those compromised devices. That by itself, again, provides another thing, which is accessibility. I care that you're protecting this private key hardly. There's a guard staying right next to that HSM, but I can't access it. And that's the problem that we have seen in the industry. For cloud PKI, this is a solved problem. It will be already part of generating that key. We don't access the key will be provided to you in a secure manner. And anytime you would like to revoke it, as a simple click, you can revoke that key and we can go through and create another key for you.
Great question, thank you. You're interested in the car? Okay. Very good. So let's think about security, and when we do, we think about the technical piece of the puzzle. Let's think about the implications of a security breach or a security intrusion and the impact that can have on a business. And I want to tell you a story. It must have been maybe 18 months ago now, maybe some of you read about it at the time. British Airways, that once famous UK, at the time European airline, had a problem where one server went down. And the server that went down was managing the seating reservation system for the audience, or for the public flying. And what did management say? No big deal, they can't choose their seat. What do we care? Good logic there. What they didn't realize, that server pulled down another server, which tripped something else, which pulled down something. A long story short, within 24 hours, their whole global network was down, and they couldn't put one plane in the air. Their whole business went to zero. They calculated the loss of that per day to be £100 million in revenue lost. What we can't calculate, which is infinitely bigger than that, is the reputational damage caused by that security incident. So let's think about, when we're valuing what Avesta's told us about, the savings to us on reputational damage for our customers' businesses. That's where the value is liberated. Ladies and gentlemen, Avesta, Hojjati, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much. Cheers.